and give us a brief of where we are. Are we ready for elections? A big round of applause to the chair.
Thank you. I can't do that in 7 minutes. Chairman, Council of Governors, all governors present, senators, members of parliament, MCAs, members from the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The IBC, that's the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, has a constitutional mandate to deliver a free, fair, and credible election. That is our constitutional mandate. And we as a commission, we are committed to deliver the 8th August general election to this country. And we are doing everything possible to make it happen seamlessly. As you all know, the election provides that freedom for the voters to exercise their right to vote, for the candidates to also exercise their right to be elected. And this has to be done without violence, threats, intimidation, or coercion. There are high stakes in elections, and because of that, there are bound to be acts of violence. And we are working with all the security agencies to ensure that violence is curtailed. We have the laws, Electoral Offences Act. Those who breach the law will be dealt with. So my appeal to you, those who will be standing, is please campaign peacefully. And security will be there. The police are part of our training. We are training them to understand the election laws so that they can participate meaningfully. IPC supports devolution, and we were part of devolution from the informative stages. As a commission, we don't want to be left behind. As you all know, we have 17 regions, which were mainly for administrative purposes. But IBC again is represented in every constituency and county, and also in every ward. But as a commission, we have made a resolution that henceforth we are doing away with the 17 regions and we are coming to the counties. We are doing away with the 17 regions and we shall be coming to the counties, so that we have the county election coordinators instead of the RECs, what we call the regional election coordinators. I thought you would clap for me for that. I say so because for, say, Narok and Bomet, there were issues. Why do we have a count in Bomet instead of Narok? Now, all those things will be things of the past. We shall have our 47 county representatives. The commission also is looking at the issue of conducting the elections seriously, and I want to answer the questions raised by Brian. The register of voters is our priority. We must get it right, free from any errors, and that includes removing names of deceased voters. It includes removing names of those who may have been registered twice, and that's being addressed, so that by come 10th of May this year, we shall present the register to the Kenyan people, to the political parties, to the candidates, to verify whether the names are properly in the register. And if there are any errors, they'll be returned to us by 10th of June. We shall correct the errors and give you only one proper register, one valid register. That's what we are doing at the moment. Also, to have a meaningful election, persons seeking to vie for office and who have met the criteria set by the law are allowed to stand for election. Now, there are those who may not meet the criteria. We shall not clear them to stand. And a lot of dynamics are involved here. Perhaps I'll leave that to the question and answer session, since I only have 7 minutes. We're ensuring that polling stations are effective by having not more than 700 persons in one stream or per every voting criteria. We're also advocating for peaceful and violence-free campaigns which are free from bribery and corruption. We're looking for accountable, transparent elections which can be verified by all other institutions, including the judiciary. We want to make it easy for the judiciary that we don't have many election petitions going to court. There's a code of conduct which we have developed for political parties, candidates, agents, and polling officials, which will be enforced to the letter. The results transmission is another aspect we are looking at, and results will be transmitted accurately and accountably from the polling station to the constituency for presidential, and at the same time simultaneously to a tallying hall or tallying center in Nairobi. So in terms of preparedness, the Commission is ready and prepared for the August 8th election. I just want to mention about the concluded MVR2 exercise, which was finalized on 19 February, where we registered a total of 3,782,089 new voters who registered to vote. And we have a further 1 million who transferred from one center to another. So those figures are with us. We are inputting the data, and that's the data which we shall clean up and present to the Kenyan people. This will entail matching all the records received to ensure that there are no duplicates, as I've said. And we are working very hard. There's a problem of audit. There was an auditor appointed by the Commission. The case is in court, and we hope it will be finalized soon. But in the unlikely event that it's not finalized, we as a Commission are committed to use all other means to ensure that some kind of audit is done. And when we present the register, that will have been done. There was an issue about procurement, which Brian has raised. There was going on when it comes to procurement, you hear of court cases here and there. And as of today, there are orders being issued left, right, and center. And I want to say this. There are people who dream, who have dreams that perhaps election will not take place. I want to assure Kenyans that election will happen on 8th of August. That is for sure. Even if it means writing on pieces of paper, we are going to vote on 8th of August. But I hope we are not going to get there. As a Commission, we have made plans to ensure that the electronic equipment required is available before the deadline of 10th of April. We must have equipment 4 months before the election date, and that's being done. Whether they go to court, whether they get how many court orders, we shall ensure this happens. Because the procurement law is there. It allows us. If you look at section 167 of the procurement law, it allows us to procure directly. It allows us, in any situation, we should be able to manage within the law. So I want to assure you that elections will be there, and the dreamers should stop dreaming and campaign peacefully. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you very much, Chair. A big round of applause to the Chair. I just hope that we will not write on papers. We will have ballot papers. Are we together? Thank you. Now, Governor Nanok, we know that electoral processes, even though it's the mandate of IEBC, there are different stakeholders that needs to support IEBC. What Akanti is doing in terms of making electoral, engaging people and dialogue within different counties to ensure that we do not have violence in 2017. You have 3 minutes, Governor.
Thank you, Moderator. Briefly, I want to talk about what Council of Governors has done since the beginning of the time we started preparing for elections, but also what counties individually have collectively done. First, recall very well when Parliament was debating about the electoral laws number 3, and which was a very heated subject between the different political players. We did make our contribution through the Senate Standing Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights, and on the bill, and some of the issues that we did raise. All polling stations at all times, to enable voters to not only inspect but also to confirm the eligibility to vote on the basis of the biometric data that was provided. Second is we also raised an issue with a concern that was mentioned about complementary mechanisms, and you remember a very huge debate of whether it was manual or otherwise, but our position as a Council of Governors was that we could use electronic support systems like satellite transmitters, or in the case of Nigeria, the BVR kit was supplemented with the use of chip cards. And of course, this was a back and forth discussion, but that was then our proposal that that could be the alternative to doing manual systems that have proven to be problematic in the past. We also did present that there was no clear substantive and procedural laws to govern runoffs. And probably that's why many of the main political players are aiming at getting a win at the first instance. And I think this still needs to be looked into. Otherwise, we will probably be entering a runoff in the elections where there are no clear guidelines to guide it. Individually, as counties, we have offered a platform where election agenda is discussed in a professional and impartial manner through county dialogues and devolution TOSH. In addition, during the recent mass voter registration, we provided a lot of support in voter mobilization, plus also supported, particularly in the very rural counties, supported logistics with transport, where IBC clerks were not able to reach out because they didn't have transport. We did support for them to be able to get out to the various polling stations. One thing that we have also incorporated in all our programming is advocacy on fair, free, peaceful, and credible election. So we've done this basically to avert internal conflict within communities because of the different political players that might be competing for the various seats. And that is a continuing process. We have also engaged on non-partisan voter sensitization to at least help and make people realize the need for voting, the need for voting, particularly for them to realize their commitments to want to see government and leaders doing service delivery. Other than that, we continue to engage with the IEBC in whatever area they will think that we will be of good support, since we have a huge network across all the administrative wards and probably even all polling stations, so that they can tell us which players think that county governments can be able to support them, be able to execute their constitutional mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I can see now you know the drill. Eh? When they finish, you just clap without me telling you. A big round of applause. Now, Secretary for Internal Security, what are we doing differently to ensure that there is peace in the next general elections? We know very well that the perpetrators of the 2007 are still walking around. We have seen the reemergence of gangs. What are we doing differently to ensure that we have peace in the next general elections? 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One thing we have to acknowledge is that the forthcoming elections are high-stake elections. There is a lot of competition which is going to be witnessed. especially at the gubernatorial level and the ward level, not forgetting also the presidential level. So the stakes are very high. Everybody wants to win, and everybody wants to get into leadership. And therefore, security, we started planning on security issues last year, and we have analyzed what happened in the previous elections that we have had, with specific reference to 2007, 2008, so that we can inform how we are going to handle the forthcoming elections. And we are looking at the activities before, during, and after the elections. What are the activities that are likely to raise temperatures in the country before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections? And what are we going to do about it? And we have developed what we call a standard operating procedure, which we have distributed to all our security agencies, which now informs them of the likely insecurity situations, incidences that we may have during those 3 periods. We have also looked at what Waki Commission said on the preparedness of the security agencies. We have analyzed that, and that is informing us now on how we are preparing ourselves. One of the things that we are doing is we're having joint training for all security agencies, so that we go as one unit as we approach the elections. We have also taken the multi-agency approach, where we are saying, okay, everybody has an interest in the elections. We are liaising with the stakeholders through the WIANO platform and the PeaceNet. We are liaising with them so that we can see how everybody can bring in an input in issues that relate to security. We are also closely monitoring incitement and hate speech. We have bought gadgets monitoring speech, especially during the campaigns, for our security officers, so that they can be able to do that. We have also issued a gazette notice on all criminal gangs across the country, and it is a list that we'll keep updating as time goes on. We have also mapped out hotspots, areas which are most likely to get to experience violence, and we have started developing strategies on how to deal with that issue when it comes up. We have a very active engagement with the media at the media owners level and at the editors level. We are engaged very actively so that we can see how each one of us can play a role in this. As you are aware, we have built We have unveiled the Nyumba Kumi initiative, and Mr. Kaguthi, the former PC, he is very active on the ground, sensitizing communities on issues of security, and his cry on call is security starts with you, and therefore when you see anything going wrong, please raise it up. We are going to have peace meetings, and we are going to engage with the governors on this and the IBC. We are going to have peace meetings from the sub-location level. We build them up to the national level so that we can sensitize the people from the grassroots on the need for peaceful elections and all that. The issue of civic education has been raised. I think we have not done very well there. I think it is something that IBC has to look at so that we educate the public on the elections, because elections come and go, but Kenya will remain. But which Kenya is remaining? Is it the Kenya that we have built, or is it a Kenya that we have burnt down? Lastly, I want to say that as in Kenya, we need to embrace constitutionalism and respect for the law, and that is the only way we'll ensure that we have peaceful elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gadesha. I think that is quite clear. Lady Justice, DCJ, how prepared are we to listen to petitions? And I want to ask you this question because the Supreme Court pronounced itself on the matter of votes cast. The Constitution says votes cast. the Supreme Court introduced a new term called valid votes cast. How are we prepared? Looking at the 14 days to listen to petitions, is that enough? And you saw the Chief Justice saying he will not work on Saturdays, meaning we are only looking at 12 days. How prepared are we in regard to listening to petitions?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Fortunately, only the presidential election has 14 days to be heard and disposed. All the other petitions have 6 months within which to be heard and determined. They all concern the audience, but let me start from where you have ended with the 14-day period. We asked Parliament to increase that period because it is clearly not sufficient. We get a bulk of evidence, documentary and otherwise, from all the parties that appear before us. IEBC brings all manner of evidence. Certain of their documents are not in order. And we would require, once the evidence has been admitted, sufficient time to interrogate that evidence so as to come out with what would be called an acceptable legal judgment. Parliament, in its wisdom, didn't think that we needed time beyond 14 days, so we have the 14 days within which to work. 9 of those 14 days are taken up by preparations, filings, replies, and so on and so forth. And then we have somebody called interested parties, amicus curiae, people who want to join in the election petition, the presidential one in particular, as concerns the 14 days. And the law in this country is such that everybody and anyone can come to court for themselves or on behalf of somebody else. Now, dealing with amicus and interested parties posed a major problem last time, and those of us who were around in 2013 saw that 2 complete days were taken up by applications of persons who were saying they were in one way or another affected. I think every Kenyan is affected by the presidential election. And they wanted to be heard as though they are, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be heard, but it couldn't be that their ideas are stronger than those of the parties, of the primary parties. What are we doing to be ready? I am not avoiding the question of valid votes or votes cast. That one is an easy one to deal with. The Supreme Court is in a unique position. It is the one court that is not bound by its decisions. So that if in a particular case and in an appropriate one, the Supreme Court was persuaded that the way to go is please calculate 50 plus 1 on the basis of votes cast, and not a valid votes cast. There'd be no difficulty whatsoever. The court is not bound by its decision, so it could always review its own judgments. Since 2013, immediately after the last election, the judiciary embarked immediately on preparedness for hearing the 2017 petitions. We have what is called, and which is a standing committee, the Judiciary Committee on Elections. Those of us who are keen to detail have heard that there will be no other trainings in the judiciary this year, except those that are related to election cases. And therefore, the Judiciary Training Institute has been doing nothing else but training the judges and judicial officers on how quickly one must hear election petitions and hear them comprehensively so that really one judgment ought to complete the whole process. Challenges, very many. The first of which in the Supreme Court, back to the presidential election, There are only 7 judges in that court. Now, none of them dare be sick during that 14 days. None of them dare have an emergency during that 14-day period. Security is a big problem to judges. Threats were real last time. Seclusion becomes important and necessary so that we prepare this judgment without any manner of intimidation. Are we ready? I would say we are. We have done nothing else since 2013 but preparation for hearing these election petitions. Now, we have not cheated ourselves, and we will be counted on our word in September. In 2013, we got 187 petitions, including the presidential 188. And we were able to finalize them within the stipulated constitutional framework. Timelines. It is a difficult period because we know we have a short time. We also know we are not expected to make errors during that period. So there is the research, there is the hearing of the material, there is how much evidence can you admit during that time, yet you must admit all evidence, oral and otherwise, but the judiciary is ready. We are ready. We know that we will not get 188 election petitions this year. We are prepared for 300 and we are ready. We will do it. We will deliver on time. Thank you.
I think she deserves a much better clap than that. Thank you very much, DCJ. The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. And I want to direct my question to the Registrar of Political Parties. Please tell us some of the steps that political parties have made as regards implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. And focus more on party primaries, the list. So we would want to see how we are prepared in terms of implementation of the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll go straight to the point and state that the Office of Registrar of Political Parties was established in 2011. It is a state office and it has offices or officers at the national and county level. And the mandate is to register political parties and to ensure compliance with the Act. On the 2/3 gender principle, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, in its compliance with the Act, has a mandate to ensure that all political parties which are registered conform to the 2/3 gender principle. And the Act in itself did ensure that it mainstreamed gender principle. How did it do that? It did first and foremost recognize the gender parity in formation of political parties. It also ensured that all women will participate in governance, in critical issues of political parties, and that all women should participate in the formation and management of political parties, as well as participate in campaigns, nomination, and ultimately elections. What have we done as the Office of Registrar of Political Parties to ensure that this is implemented? The Office of Registrar of Political Parties did recommend to Parliament to amend the political parties to ensure that the 2/3 gender principle is implemented, and we got what we wanted. The Act was amended, and all special interest groups were included in the Act, whereby all constitutional political parties, rules and regulations must ensure gender compliance. After the enactment of the Act, the office issued an order to political parties to amend their constitutions, rules and regulations, and they did so. And as we start now, the rules and regulations are before IBC for implementation. What we expect during nomination is that each and every political party will comply with the 2/3 gender principle, and the list which will go to the ballot, the list which will be for party list, will have all the special interest group. And we are calling upon IBC to ensure compliance in that area. In terms of capacity, the Office of Registrar of Political Parties as I said, has offices at the national and county level. And at the county level, we have county monitors who will be monitoring compliance during nomination of political parties and to ensure gender compliance. At the same time, we have carried out capacity building of political parties at the national level and at the county level, and the trainings were received very positively by Kenyans. The office has also come up with checklists for compliance, which we share with each and every political party. It has also come up with a monitoring tool during nominations and during elections. We also endeavor to work together with IBC and all the other stakeholders to ensure peaceful campaigns, including the Wiyano platform, which has been mentioned. On dispute resolution, Office of Registrar of Political Parties also partnered with the judiciary and the committee which was just mentioned, and we came up with the rules or guidelines whereby political parties must ensure internal dispute resolution mechanism is enshrined in their rules and regulation, and they will use so to solve disputes before they head to IBC or to the judiciary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The PS, Madam Mabruki. You know, we had a lot of challenges as regards transition from the old councils to the counties. What have you learned? What have you planned in terms of moving forward, in terms of transition? Moving forward. You have 3 minutes to articulate that.
Thank you very much, Honourable Moderator. Let me start by giving an overview of what is our mandate as a Ministry of Devolution and Planning, and how we have, over the last 3 years, strove to deliver on the devolution agenda. One of our key mandates is to build institutions which would lead and coordinate the devolution strategy at both national and county levels. We also have a mandate of building capacity of the devolved government structures in the counties, implementing a civic education plan for the citizens to understand and participate in devolution, and also to support local economic development so that the counties would over time become self-sustaining. Yes, you have made reference to 2013 and what we have learned. Let me start by saying devolution was new even to us in the national government. So even as a State Department, we went through a learning curve, and with the mandate as it was and as young as we were then, we have learned lessons for sure, and we have strove to even build our own internal capacities to be able to actually coordinate this agenda. How have we done that? We have done that through the enactment of laws and policies to anchor devolution. As we speak, the devolution policy is now ready. We are soon going to launch it. I think within this month of March, we should be able to launch the devolution policy. And why has it taken so long, probably you would wish to ask? Again, it has been a learning curve. Even for us in the ministry, the lessons learned and the experiences that we have gathered have been actually inputted into the policy. We are looking at now, how do we have institutional strengthening? How do we allocate resources, both financial and human? And also, how do we get civic education and people participation to be anchored within this devolution agenda? So that has taken time, and there has been quite a number and very, very exhaustive consultations around this policy document. We are now happy to announce that it has gone through all the levels of consultation, and we will soon be launching the devolution policy. I'm not saying that it's going to cure what we have gone through, but it will guide. It will give us a guideline which we didn't have, which we didn't have in 2013. Allow me to just highlight a few. It will address the institutional and resource challenges, both financial and human. It will provide intergovernmental and intra-governmental framework of relations, how we are going to, going forward, the kind of relationships and the framework of engagement. And the purpose ultimately is to improve the implementation of the devolved system of government in order to achieve optimal service delivery. So it is a guide for both national and county governments to align their policies towards the devolved system of government. And we believe this particular document will be one of the key transitional instruments which the next level of government that will be coming in past the elections would use as a guide to future engagements and future operations. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to add that we have also rolled out county model laws. These will assist, and they have been assisting also the current county assemblies in undertaking their mandate. These model laws, we believe, will strengthen county assemblies in their mandate, and they will be provided in a generic form that will allow counties to adapt them to their unique legislative proposals and circumstances. We have also developed a guide to the legislative process in Kenya in collaboration with other stakeholders. This guide provides a rich and comprehensive overview of the legislative process in Kenya. As you all know, the new constitutional order requires transparency, accountability, participation, and inclusiveness in governance. Hence, the guide will go a long way in providing direction into the citizens' involvement in the legislative processes. All these were not there in 2013, so we hope by 2017 these are already foundational stones that they will be used to give us a seamless transition. Let me also speak a bit towards civic education and public participation. We have developed county public participation guidelines, which are currently in use, and they will enhance the capacity of the citizens in holding their county governments to account. When it comes to other work in progress, which we aim to finalize within the next 6 months, I will be discussing with yourselves, even as we go into the next couple of months, is the dispute resolution mechanism. This ADR mechanism is currently under preparation, and there's a lot of consultation going on, and you will be part of the conversations to help us put in place an alternative dispute resolution mechanism as we transition into the next levels of government. We will also be working on, again, building capacities. Capacity building is ongoing and is a continuous process, so we shall strengthen the capacities not only of county levels, county governments, but also at the national level. We have got development partner support in this regard. We will be rolling out the Kenya Devolution Support Program, as well as the EU Ideas Program. And there are a couple of other donor-driven engagements which we have, including the UNDP. All these are aimed at building capacities. That is one word we cannot overemphasize, ladies and gentlemen. We all realize, even from the discussions that we've been having for the last 3 days, capacity building. It has to be strengthened, it has to be continuous. We have to have systems, both financial, human, and institutional, to ensure that we have the skills and competencies to manage devolution. We also have put in place committees that will be working on harmonization of policies and standards and norms. This is at the national government level. There are interagency committees that are working towards providing us with the harmonization of policies and the legislative processes that are in place. Finally, we will be also strengthening our own capacity as the State Department of Devolution. As we said, this was a new engagement even for us, and we do have quite a bit that we have to do to build our own internal capacities so that we are able to guide the transitional management and governance. And also over the next 6 months, we will be looking towards yourselves for stakeholder conversation and engagements on how best we can work together to achieve this objective. I thank you all.
Thank you, Madam. Prof, we have a problem in this country. We lack issue-based politics. I just read some research that says that people who are educated are actually the most tribal. Now, what is the role of academia in ensuring that we increase awareness towards issue-based election? 3 minutes.
I think it might be wrong to say that our politics is not issue-based. People talk about the things that concern them, the issues that concern them, as concerning tribalism. Of course, tribalism will be more felt within the ruling elite and the other elite because it's about sharing resources. You know, a Kikuyu and a Luo staying together in some poor slum, they have nothing to fight over. It is only a rich Kikuyu fighting over property or something or a job that will have a problem with a Luo, for example. So tribalism can't be found within the small levels of society. The role of the academia really is one in terms of producing knowledge through books, through articles, journals, and other places. The academia, as you know, has been useful in government, with government agencies, wherever they are. You look at commissions, they are people by people from the university. And whenever brain power is required by any agency, they will always come to the university. So we are involved in that manner, but we are also as Kenyan as any other Kenyan. And some of the things that we worry about really, Weke, are things that will be sorted out by time, you know? There are things that will be sorted out by time. Others have sorted them out, not in 2 days, not in a year. So we shouldn't be overly concerned that some of these things will be sorted out by time. Tribalism, we will sort it out ourselves. Issue-based politics will come if you think we don't have issues. But when I came here, I wanted to say something. So you'll allow me to say that. You know, an intellectual is a person who takes part in public debates. So we do that as a contribution. Knowing this is a place for governors, I said, what can be my contribution in terms of preparedness? Not for this election alone, but going forward. I wanted to give a suggestion to this country, and knowing that governors and people gathered here have enormous influence in society. I think we need, in terms of preparedness, to look not so much at the processes, because those will be done by others. First, I question political parties. Why do they subject a governor to nominations in their second term? See, this affects service delivery. And so we are asking political parties, and I think you people can influence that, not to subject governors to, no, it's actually ridiculous, it's awkward. You work with your governor, if you feel he's not good, then you leave him. I also wanted to suggest, going forward, as a matter of changing the constitution or engineering it a bit, that we think about a governor serving like 7 years, 1 term, you know? You know these things, when somebody is thinking where he's going and to get the job, there is a problem. A bit of the resources that some of these fellows around here could be putting in their pockets is for the next election and for life after that. So I was suggesting also that as a country, and I'm happy the minister is here, as a country, look at these young governors. All these people are young. Where will they go in 2022? We need to re-engineer our constitution so that we have regional assemblies, a kind of federal state, so that these fellows can be automatic. If you've served 2 terms as a governor, you become an automatic state governor in the Senate, or something like that. Eh? So we need to look at our constitution so that we create space. When people know they are moving somewhere safely and there's something to look forward to and a legacy, they may not go into the kind of things we don't want to discuss here, which have been said elsewhere. Thank you.
Another big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I think Prof has raised certain fundamental issues. And Daisy, you know what this basically means is that if we continue with the governors, we will not have women as governors. That brings me to your question. On a scale of 1 to 10, Daisy, you've been very vocal about the issues of the 2/3 gender rule. On a scale of 1 to 10, as a country, where do we think we are as regards implementation of the 2/3 gender rule? And now that governors should be given automatic tickets.
Thank you, Brian. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that we are at 4. because Article 27.8 and Article 81B is very clear on the not more than 2/3 gender principle, that we cannot have more than 2/3 in elective or appointive bodies. The only mechanism that guarantees it is actually in the county assemblies, Article 177B, which assures that no matter what, even if the opposite gender are not elected, they will be appointed, they will be nominated. So we still have a problem at the national level, and while the registrar of political parties has been very express in the mechanisms that they have put in place, one of the things that really must happen, and I'm glad that the chairman of IEBC is here, is that we need enforcement mechanisms, because what we are lacking is really the political will. While the Constitution and the law expressly provides that political parties must ensure not more than 2/3, they have them in their governing structures, but we do not see it translating to active politics. When you talk about political parties having not more than 2/3 in their structures, when we look at the political party mergers, for instance, does this law also require mergers to ensure that we have not more than 2/3? When we look at the merger formations, we do not see women. We see only men in place, and when we hear of the positions that are being already divided, there's very few women, if any at all. The other issue is the issue of campaign financing. And I think that the suspension of the campaign financing law is one of the biggest problems that we will have, even in ensuring the not more than 2/3. Because the whole idea behind campaign financing is to avoid our politics being a money contest. And when you look at the suspension of that law vis-a-vis the campaign financing ceilings that have been set by IEBC, which are really ridiculous, because when you set a campaign ceiling that a political party can spend up to 15 billion shillings in its campaigns, and when you think here we are talking to governors, the largest allocation to a county government for a year doesn't even reach 15 billion. You know, so what are we saying? We're saying that our politics becomes a money contest, and we're fostering corruption, and it becomes exclusive, because the social and economic exclusion that women have been subjected to doesn't allow them to have that kind of money to be able to campaign. So the issue of campaign financing, compliance with the law. Also, it's important to note that the 2017 general election does not have the cover of the Supreme Court advisory, which the 2013 general election had. The Supreme Court was very clear that by 2015 a mechanism must be in place, because 2017 general election must ensure Article 81B is complied with. And I worry when I hear our Honorable late Justice, DCJ, saying that the Supreme Court is not bound by its decisions. I hope that we are not going to see a situation where the AG will run to the Supreme Court and you will revise this decision. Because in my opinion, I think that the Supreme Court should have enforced it in 2012 when the matter came before them. Above all else, the issue of not more than 2/3 is about inclusivity. Every year we celebrate at the annual Devolution conference, we celebrate devolution. Devolution is an inclusivity principle in our constitution, like the gender principle and the issue of minorities and disability. Now, we know that there are people who are not happy with devolution, but it is the law. The Constitution provides that Kenya has devolved governments. The Constitution also provides that you shall have not more than 2/3 in elective and appointive bodies. It also ensures that, it also states that we must ensure that fair representation of persons with disability is there, and minorities. So for me, IEBC then becomes the enforcement agency. IEBC is an independent body that is supposed to ensure compliance with the law. Even if we do not have an enforcement mechanism, the Constitution has not been suspended. And therefore we expect, Mr. Chairman, that IEBC will force parties to comply with the law, because the Constitution has not been suspended and it is the supreme law of the land. Finally, and in closing, I think for us what we need to see really is political will. We need to see political will from the political parties, and also to say that the credibility of the election, we're talking about free, fair, and credible elections. Article 81 is very clear on the principles that the electoral process must comply with. And among them is the two-thirds principle. Therefore, if we do not have an enforcement mechanism and IEBC does not force compliance, it will go to the credibility of the election. And anybody can call for the invalidation of the entire elections on the grounds that the two-thirds principle has not been complied. Also, just allow me, the issue of violence. I'm glad to hear that the Ministry of Interior has a mechanism in place to actually monitor the issue of violence. But violence has become a hallmark of Kenyan politics. But more so, it is also meted out against women as a deterrent to elective politics. Now, we have not seen, Honorable Chairman of IEBC has allowed for the president and the opposition leader to campaign, which means in essence that the electoral process has already begun. The electoral process does not begin at the general election. It also encompasses the campaign periods. The code of conduct requires that where candidates or political party leaders or supporters engage in violence, they ought to be barred, one, from participating from the election, and a further penalty of not being able to replace candidates who engage in violence. Now, IEBC has never enforced these laws. You gave a slap on the wrist, 550,000 shillings fine. I think for me, the deterrent mechanisms, those penalties that are in the Electoral Code of Conduct must be enforced, because IEBC says, oh, we cannot enforce the Code of Conduct because we are not in the election, the campaign period proper. Actually, we are. Guys are campaigning. So the Electoral Code of Conduct must be enforced. It must be enforced to the letter, and the penalties must be enforced so that the political parties become agents of ensuring peaceful elections, but also ensuring that women have the space to participate in these processes without violence being used as a deterrent. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Daisy is always very passionate about the subject matter. A big round of applause to her. I think she's done a good job. Now, we have heard from different duty bearers. I want to come to Mwananchi, Steve Ogutu. You've heard from the duty bearers. But what is the mood on the ground as regards the upcoming general elections? Tell us the position of the Mwananchi. What is the mood on the ground? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Weke. And this is what the Mwananchi is now experiencing. Basically, the citizens are saying that the 2017 election will be more than 2007, 2008. Reason being, there is no political goodwill to address these issues. Again, we are seeing the political parties regrouping. And a good example is that of the governor of Bomet, that is last year, when he was attacked by the youths from within his county. Again, a good example is what we are now seeing in Baringo. I'm raising these issues in relation to Greater Rift Valley. Baringo is shoot and kill. Whom are you shooting? Whom are you killing? Are you killing an innocent, an armed citizen, or are you shooting and killing an armed individual? By doing that, we are experienced deaths, loss of properties, and also displacement at this tender age. And why are you doing this? And while these things is happening, what are we doing or seeing in relation to the Constitution and the social and economic rights? Are we protecting these people's rights or not? Lastly, after all this, we have come with strategies to address these issues. By that, we are collaborating, partnering with Uyano and other existing DPCs in all these affected counties to address the issues on violence in relation to electioneering. And again, we are using also the Nyumba Kumi initiative. And also, we have done this in collaboration with other international organizations, whereby we have identified and trained few individuals on election monitoring and investigation. Lastly, to IBC, please, 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 IBC, we don't want to see a reflection of 207, 208 in 2017, and especially to those peacemakers and to people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is Mwananchi. We also had a representative of Mwananchi from Narok County. Joseph, what do you want to see happening as a Mwananchi as regards elections?
Okay, thank you very much. What we want to see happening is that all the institutions should put their records right, because as I have heard from all these heads of our departments, that they are ready. And there are very many gaps that I'm seeing, because for the preparation of the IBC, our very able chairman have just said that we might even end up writing on paper and the elections will be there. So I'm foreseeing a very insecure election as opposed to other elections. Because if we are going to write on paper, the outcome will be chaotic. Because anybody can manipulate it, anything can be done, and by the end of the day, people will be fighting. And again, we just experienced it the other day. The mass voter mobilization and transfer of voters from their counties to go and defeat others. What mechanism have the institution put in place to see that those who have been brought from outside their counties are safe on that day? That's why I'm saying that the 2017 elections is very much insecure. There are also perpetuation of the narrative that there will be violence during and after the elections. What mechanism have been put in place to avert that? And also some communities already are prepared to displace others or move out of their homes. Will that be a credible election? Will we realize what we really wanted? There are also irregularities in the campaigns, because the campaigns have already started. There are hate speeches all over. Some people have been allowed to go and campaign already. And there is a crowd of people who want to vie for the most lucrative seats. That's the seat of the governor and also the MCAs. What are we going to do to control these people fighting for this only one seat? And then the last thing is for the Ministry of Interior. What are you doing with the peace committee? You initiated the initiative and all died. We are not talking about the peace initiatives. You are now talking about the Nyumba Kumi, the community policing, and all these are Mwananchis. All these are, what are you doing about that as the state ministry in charge of that? The other thing is, we should also note that the most vulnerable people here are the women, the elderly, the children, and the women. Who will safeguard them? Somebody somewhere said that all the police will be deployed there. Who will go to Mosiro? I come from Narok, a very remote area that I've never had a police post, leave alone a police station, since independence. Who will be there? Who will be taking care of those posts? So, what's easily said than done. Let us be practical in what we do and what we endeavor to do. But be assured the elections 2017 are not secure at all.
That is the voice of Mwananchi. I think that marks the end of that phase. So I want to open very quickly to plenary. I've not even said and your hands are up. Very quickly, questions. I can see the chairman, Kaparo. You will be the first one. We also have to observe gender. You will be the second, the third, the fourth, So I'll only take 5 questions. And right there at the back, Madam, 5. So please, you can start with the chairman. Thank you.
Professor, I've said in the past, I had an opportunity, as a matter of fact, to address the vice chancellors and chancellors of our public and private universities. And I put a question to them, which I want to put to the professor here, because it was never answered. How come that people with academic excellence can go on a public forum and articulate issues which they know is untruth? How come? Where has the intellectual honor goes? Where has it gone? Intellectual honor. On a question, you say that the ordinary people have no tribal alienation, or they have no tribalism between them. There, I agree with you. We did a scientific research as NCIC, which graduated people according to their lack of cohesiveness in the following manner. The most cohesive are the illiterate, followed by primary school graduates, followed by secondary schools, and graduates, and the worst are professors. And it is a scientific finding. Now, secondly, Professor, you know, we also did recently a ethnic audit of public universities ran by intellectuals and professors. And we found out the following, that true to the finding of the first research, every vice chancellor employed in their private universities or their public universities, the universities under them, the greatest number of employees are from their community. It's a fact. What are you guys doing to us? Where do we go if we cannot look at our intellectuals as a beacon of hope, as the wielders of truth, as the people who will not be hired by politicians to speak on their behalf and advance untruth because it is in accordance with the thinking of their ethnic inmates.
Thank you.
Where do we go?
Thank you, Chair. And by the way, let's be very clear. This is a question session. You're not a panelist, eh? So move to the next one and ask your question. Thank you very much.
I'm here. Thank you very much to the panelists. My name is Nancy, and I have the following questions to the following panelists. The first question goes to Amot Becha, and my question is, are there plans by the Ministry of Interior to sensitize citizens of your preparedness to ensure that electoral-related violence is prevented in the event that it occurs? And then the second question goes to the chair of IBC, and I would appreciate some clarity on whether they will be conducting the political primaries, and if they will be, what this means to their timelines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like your thinking. Yes.
Okay, I'm Beatrice, and my question goes to the PS internal security. As the Constitution has mandated the county governments to have the administrative units, yet the Interior, they have also another arm for administrative units, that is the PC, the DOs, and all that. What are they doing so that, because the way I've seen, there is a lot of disconnect between the administration of the county and the administration of the national government. Yet, All of us, we want to make sure that our counties are safe. We want to make sure during the election that it is our objective. It doesn't matter, in terms of security, it doesn't matter which administration unit you are. What are the strategies that you've put in place to make sure that the both levels in terms of administrative officers work together so that they achieve one objective, to make sure that there is peace during this election? Remember, the common mwananchi has a very painful experience of 2007, which we really don't want to reflect it back. And let me tell you, we will hold you accountable. If our children die, if our people are displaced, and you are the ones who are going there to be leaders, and you want those positions, and us, we don't, we are just going to the farms and getting our food. Allow us to get those.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Guys, let's restrict ourselves to questions. There was a last one here. Oh, yes. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Ochilo. Now, I want to address this issue to the Chair Electoral Commission. As a lawyer, you should speak fact and law in the first place. We are having a very serious conference here, and the impression being created by the manner in which you want to address the elections coming 2017 is very casual. Despite the fact that you may have legal challenges about the procurement, can you put this record straight that Kenyans are going to have free, credible elections, not managed on papers? The press will pick this issue, and that shows how the unpreparedness of your commission. Take the earliest opportunity to clear this thing from the minds of Kenyans.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Albert Kochei, the Speaker of Elgeyo-Marakwet County. I have about 3 questions. One is on Registrar of Political Parties. About 2 or 1 week ago, it has been in the domain that Kenyans, majority of Kenyans had raised issues about being registered in the parties not of their own choice. I think you need to comment on that. On the same public domain, I would want you to clarify for us the perceived controversies surrounding the tenure of your office. Thirdly, I would want to take it to the IEBC chair. But Chairman, you are aware that in the bid of ensuring that there is electronic issues surrounding your office, there was a number that had been given to Kenyans, that you dial this, you send your ID number, and you will be able to be given whether you are registered or not. We are aware at the moment that number seems not to be functioning. But fundamentally, I come from Elgeyo-Marakwet. During the voter registration exercise, a section of my county, particularly Kerio Valley, about 3 wards, was adversely affected with a lot of the battles that have been going on in the communities. I know my people have been deprived their right to register as voters, yet the exercise, you've already gazetted yesterday or the day before, that the exercise for voter registration has come to an end. Now, on the gentleman, I think is the devolution warrior. I think you touched my nerve. You have gone on record and accused the deputy president on issuing the shoot to kill order. I want to ask you some very few questions. Where were you when a 2-day child was shot? Where were you when that mother was shot together with the child? Where was the human rights when the women and the children of Kerio Valley of Elgeyo-Marakwet County, for a whole 3 months, they were living in caves? Where were you when the children of Kerio Valley, all of them were not able to go to school, and it is their right to go to school? And today we are proud of a government that has managed to bring order and harmony in Kerio Valley, like Kipia and West Pokot.
Thank you, Speaker.
I think I want to ask you, you may want to receive that position, because that's some of us were adversely affected. We are at pain. We are burdened. In my county, we are burdened over 48 people being killed by purported cattle rustler by their thugs.
Thank you, Speaker. I am under intense pressure. There are people who are making faces. I can see Faith is on my right. Please. Who is? And the Deputy Governor of Wasinigishu. Let's start with you, then Faith. Then we will have to close because of time.
Please, I mentioned that
Prof, hold on.
The chairman IBC told us of the migration of 1 million voters. In the past, there was a requirement that people must have stayed in a place for 6 months to be able to be eligible to vote there. But I think IBC has withdrawn that requirement. Now we have what you call professional political tourists who can move to a ward, elect a leader, and return. What is the future stability of that ward when they have a leader who was imposed of them? And remember the issue of Crimea. Crimea voted overwhelmingly to go to Russia because of immigrants who are brought there to change the equation. Number 2 is about the validation of degrees. For one to be a governor, you must have a degree. But all political parties are calling upon aspirants for gubernatorial positions without an input that they must have a valid degree. We have seen some people who have been taken to court, and IBC claimed they trusted that the papers were valid. How will you ensure that this time such problems are not brought in? For example, your political enemy may bring about unqualified people to cut down your votes for the nomination purpose. We want to ensure that those who go for the party primaries have valid qualifications. I don't know what you have done to ensure that is there too. Because I think the Minister for Education has told us 120 fake degrees. How do we ensure that those people don't influence gubernatorial and other elections where qualifications are needed?
Thank you, DJ.
Thank you.
Yes,
very
Prof.
much. Mr. Moderator, there was an aspect that was not covered in all the discussion here. The preparedness for assumption of office. And I want to tell you that we IGRTC, working with the ministries that are responsible, we have, and the COG, sorry, we have a committee that is looking into that. We have already worked out the training curriculum for the county secretaries. We will be forwarding some letters to the county governors to allow them to come for training. And we will train those who are responsible for ensuring that when we are campaigning and we are electing, the public interests are protected. The content for that training is ready. By the end of next week, we shall be through, and we shall liaise with the head of public service to see how soon we can begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Faith.
Thank you, Brian, for rigging me in. I think I have 2 questions to the chair of IEBC. I worry as a concerned citizen, Mr. Chair. I really want to ask you, which one is the lesser evil? Going into an election with glaring gaps in terms of preparedness, or having a candid conversation with Kenyans in terms of the level of preparedness to the election? My second question is, I don't want us to lose focus on the issue that the ORPP lady, Madam Lucy and Daisy brought up. What are the mechanisms that IEBC has put in place to enforce the not more than 2/3 gender rule? And we know political parties are already in their nomination rules. And what punitive measures do you have in place? Would like to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith. I think it is only fair that we start with the chair of IEBC. Are we together? Yes. And chair, a number of issues have been raised. One is your casual approach. 2, the issues of party nominations. 3, the fundamental question of which one is the lesser evil. So you have 3 minutes and a number of issues that have been raised. Kindly proceed. Chair, Based on guidance, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. The issue of Mwananchi, is it Wananchi? And the issue of the preparedness in terms of the election. I want to say that when I made reference to the issue of what's called paper, my English teacher told me when I was in Lenana School in 1980s that you make a point by using a reference. Now, the issue is, I said IBC will do whatever it takes to ensure that every system is in place. We have 4 components of technology. The first one is the BVR. We already passed the BVR. We used BVR to register voters. The next component is the identification of voters instrument, which is actually being procured for purpose of verification, and we shall have it in place before the end of this month. Those are kits which will provide for all the 44,000 polling stations. They'll be in place before the end of this month. Then, accompanied with that kit, we have the results transmission system device, which will accompany the kit. So all these instruments will be in place before the 10th of April, as the law requires. And my emphasis here on what has been taken out of context was to strengthen the point that we shall do whatever it takes to have this election. There's a paper part of the election. Voting will be manual, counting will be manual, and those ones are also provided for by the law. So let's not misunderstand each other. And I believe those of us who like Professor, I'm sure, and others would know that I meant to emphasize the point. And let me not be misquoted on that. So IBC is ready. We are ready for elections. Those who say we are not ready, please specify your questions. Tell us why you think we are not ready. If it's technology, we are ready. Procurement is in process. If it's ballot papers, we have re-advertised after the court gave directions. If it is human resource, we have our people. It's up to the politicians to campaign and come and let the voters come and vote. So they're ready. If you think we're not ready, come and tell us the area which you think we're not ready. There are a few other questions I must comment on. The judiciary. The Deputy CJ mentioned that we had challenges in terms of presenting evidence to the judiciary. I want to say evidence in matters of elections involve ballot papers. Now, according to the previous 2013, we were expected to carry all ballot papers to the Supreme Court from all the polling stations countrywide. Now, that's not possible. And even in cases where ballot papers went to the judiciary, some were tampered with when they were in the hands of the judiciary in 1 or 2 incidents. So the responsibility of securing ballot papers is on the IBC. We are the witnesses, and we have had a meeting with the Judicial Committee on Elections, and we agreed that the judiciary will inspect ballot papers from our warehouses, and that's where they'll be counted and verified after the election, to avoid the transportation bit and to avoid the tussles that are involved. And as well as other materials. There are many other materials, the forms and other materials which are involved. So that has been taken care of. The other area related to the judiciary is on electronic evidence. We have challenges. What happens? Part of our election will be electronic. How do you present that evidence to the judiciary? And even the petitioners need to be aware of this. We have cases where Evidence Act is very tight. I know of cases recently where all of us saw what happened, but the court said, no, there's no evidence. Let these people be acquitted. So we need to harmonize that, and my appeal to the judiciary is let us have a clear and cut line. Let's work together so that you see something happening. You have it on phone, you have it on video, and yet you are told there's no evidence. Now, that needs to be made very clear. And if we work together, we shall ensure that the administration of justice is complied with. There was a question on the issue of nomination of primaries. Primaries are coming from 3rd April to, 13th April to 26th of April. Only one political party has requested IBC to run its primaries. And the law says that if requested, we should accept to run the primaries. However, because of the pressure we are in, pressure of time, we have discussed with them, and the way forward is that we shall provide technical support only. Ballot boxes, and if there's any advice sought by the political party. Now, we have only got a request from one political party. And this, if another political party approaches us, we are ready to provide technical support. But we shall not be involved in running the primaries because of pressure of time. Capacity we have, the money will be theirs, but pressure of time dictates that we should be left alone to manage the election and the processes involved. There was the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. 2/3 gender rule. On our part as IBC, we made our contribution to Parliament, and we made contribution to the 2 bills which were presented before Parliament. But Parliament did not pass those bills. Now, IBC cannot force Parliament to pass the law. The area where we come in is in the area when you give us the party lists. Now, we shall ensure that on those party lists, first of all, the 1/3 women on the list must be nominated. That we shall ensure, the women and the disabled and the other people. We shall ensure that's done from the party list. Now, if your party list doesn't have sufficient women, we shall return it to you, and you bring it back to us with sufficient number of women for purposes of nomination. But far from that, my appeal is the women of this country, I'm told they are the majority. Please vote in as many women as possible so that we can cure that problem. If we don't, of course, we stand the risk of the next parliament being dissolved immediately after it's elected. And we don't want to see that to happen. So it's not within our powers. We must act within the law. We cannot come and enforce what's not provided for in the law. Brian, I don't know whether I've covered most of them. Yes, decrees. The law says for governors, president, you must have a decree. Verification of that document lies with the Ministry of Education. Now, if you have a bogus one, we have a very competent minister, Matiang'i is there. They'll verify it, and once we get the verified copy, then we shall proceed from there. So I urge you to start going to the Ministry Education Center, start verifying your documents from now, so that you don't go at the last minute. Anything else? Elgeo Margaret, what was the question? Voter registration. Oh, the transfers. Now, that is a question that should have been raised during the registration process. We gave special attention to certain areas, and I remember Elgeyo Marakwet may have been one of them. But we have now closed the register for the simple reason, registration for the simple reason that we must clean it up. We must clean up the register. If we continue our registration until election day, then we shall not run this election. So we have closed the register, and I don't know the data from Elgeyo Marakwet. I need to talk to the regional coordinator there, but I'm sure there were figures from the chart which we have, people registered there. So I'm not sure about exactly what the situation you are describing is. But there was a situation on a question on the issue of transfers. Our problem of transfers is actually not IBC, it's the politicians. I know you are helping us to educate people on their right to register, but I'm aware that people are being transported here and there to go and register for in other areas. So that is a problem that was created outside our framework. But they have a right to move. In Kenya, the law that was there was removed by Parliament, that you must be resident in a place for 6 months before you register. That law is no longer there. You can register anywhere, vote anywhere in this country. But the issue of transfers is being addressed. Those who transferred more than once, we shall only take the last transfer. That's what we shall use. And for purpose of election, that's where they'll vote from.
Guys, a big round of applause, please. Prof, in 1 minute, you have heard from the chairman about the research that professors are the least in terms of cohesion. How do you respond to that? 1 minute.
Or half a minute. I think his questions were 3, but you can roll them into one. Whether an educated man like Speaker Kaparo says, who will go on a platform and says truth and truth, when he knows those things he's saying are not true, is a question of values. You know, right and wrong. And we presume that a person educated will be very good in terms of values. Now, if a person educated is not good in values, then you go to the education system. And this is where we're going wrong. We inherited a Mzungu system in 1963. We did little to change it, a few feeble attempts. In 1984, we came up with 844. It hasn't addressed those. It was not quite discussed. In 2016, 2017, we are making the same mistake. We are bringing an education system. It has not been discussed. Nobody knows about it. I surprise people when I tell them I work at the university. It's never reached there. You would expect the university to have been involved in this kind of thing. They have not. So, again, we are going to have another one that will not address some of the things Speaker Kaparo is talking about. The question of values, software. You can have everything else, but when the software is wrong, you won't get it right. His second question was about being educated and being, tribal. There is serious correlation between education and tribalism. And I explained it earlier in my presentation. I said this, it's only when we are competing for resources that I'll bring something in to give me an edge over you. So I'll bring in the issue of being a lawyer to Governor Karanga, so that I tell him, how can you give a foreigner this job in Viga, and I come from Viga? Not because I'm more qualified, but because I'm now using my tribe. So that correlation is there. And it can be addressed through laws, structures, and systems. And finally, Speaker Kaparo talked about tribalism in universities. Look here. Speaker Kaparo, you live in this country. You know we have institutionalized tribalism in terms of state appointments. There are things doing around on WhatsApp that tell you who is the president, who is blah, blah, blah. You've seen those things. So from up, you can cascade it down. But more than that, Speaker Kaparo, you realize we have villagized our universities. Every village wants to have a university. Now, in that kind of situation, surely, in that kind of situation, you would expect that to be followed by a village professor becoming the vice chancellor, and so on, and the cleaners and everybody else. So, as a country, we must ask the hard questions. I know the problem with Kenyans, we don't like the hard questions. If you ask the hard questions, people will scatter and leave you alone in the circle, in the center. The hard questions will be, for example, do you need all these village universities? The hard question will be, what do you do to the Kalenjin when they chase away a non-Kalenjin professor from Moi University? We just cut around the question until somehow it melts away. But Kenyans must begin to look issues, bite the bullet, and where we must face facts with some logical eye like this, called logic. We call this tribalism. We say we shall not have this. And until such a time comes, sorry, Speaker Kaparo, we may have a little long to go.
Thank you very much. Again, there was a question about preparedness for the internal security. Please, 1 minute.
Thank you, moderator. I think there were two questions. One was on the how we are sensitizing the citizens on issues of violence during elections. I said that we are working with the Wiyano group to see that everybody is sensitized on issues of election violence. We also have the NCIC, which is chaired by Abu Kaparo. He has been on the country in peace and public. Still national steering and peace building chair to telling the speech. We still have a gap in issues of civic education. I think that is something that we need to address as a country, and I think IBC should take it up. Let's see how we can involve even the county governments in this so that quickly we can be able to educate the people accordingly. There's a lady who asked about administrative units. Schedule 4 of the Constitution alienates mandates for each government, national government and county government. And the same Constitution allows each government to have structures which would allow it to carry out its mandate. And therefore, as a national government, we have maintained the national administration, which has been there. And you know, our ministry is called Interior and National and Coordination of National Government. And we coordinate all business that relates to national government at the grassroots level. Governors have their own structures, which are also allowing them to carry out their mandates at that level. And there is no conflict because each one of them know their mandate, and I think we are working very well. Well, initially there were issues, but I think now everybody understands their role, and there is no conflict at all. Yes, we are in charge of security, and as I've said, we are working towards a peaceful election, and we are bringing all stakeholders on board. We are bringing everybody who can bring peace into the process, and we want to deliver this election in a peaceful way, and we should not be pessimistic as Kenyans. Let us be optimistic, and we are the ones who are going to create this chaos. Nobody else. It is us Kenyans. Nobody will come from outside the country. But as I said, we have come up with a standard operating procedure which has analyzed issues at each level before, during, and after the elections. Someone asked, one of the Mwananchi asked about the peace committees, district peace committees. The peace committees are still there. Unfortunately, they have gone down a bit. There was IGAD pumped in money and UNDP to create these peace committees as systems where we have early warning system from the public. And we still get updates from them through the NSC, National Steering Committee for Peace Building, and therefore they're still existing. We are now talking about Nyumba Kumi because now we are going to the very lowest unit where we are talking about the Nyumba Kumi, and I think it is working well for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam ORPP, there was a question as regards tenure of office. Please, 1 minute.
Thank you. I'll start with the membership question. And I would say that one of the mandate of the Registrar of Political Parties is to make publicly available the list of all members of political parties. Currently, political parties under Section 7 have been forwarding membership to the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, and we have been gathering the data using a software which has been provided to political parties. As we gear towards nomination exercise, we have to clean up that register, first and foremost to ensure that those who did not want to belong to a political party and are included in that database are cleared or removed. Also to ensure that those who will go to nominate or to elect leaders or to be nominated are aware of that they are fully registered in the political parties, and to also to ensure that we have a clean register come nomination by political parties. So that is why we made that register available to political parties. If we find that, if we receive a complaint from the members of the public, we are forwarding the complaint to the parties to answer the question, because it is political parties who recruit members. The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties just maintains the record. So the parties are the ones to answer that question. And at the same time, if we find them culpable or they have committed a breach, that is dealt with under the Political Parties Act. On the issue of ORPP tenure, the Act provided that the registrar who was in office before the enactment of the 2011 Act will be in the office until a new registrar is appointed. There were issues regarding the Act in terms of the procedure of appointment of the registrar. The issues have since been cleared by the amendment to the Political Parties Act, and we are looking forward to the appointment of a new registrar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Governor Nanok, last words, 1 minute. I think now we are winding up. Time is not on our side.
Thank you. Well, I like the points given by Daisy and Dan. I'm done, all of them. And I think that will be the basis of conducting this election. I want to appreciate, and it sounds music in my ears, what Professor Manyora has just said is advice to political parties, that indeed, if we are here to celebrate devolution, and the success of implementing devolution at the grassroots has been brought up by governors, then I think political parties should consider as incumbents, giving them the opportunity to run again. And that will be good, but I don't say that all the other issues about gender, issues about internal competition within the party should be ignored. But I think that's a very good suggestion now and moving forward. Finally, I think the basis of a free, fair, and credible election will be on the referee. So mine is to tell the referee to be the referee. It doesn't matter how powerful a political party will be, how powerful the individuals competing in the elections will be, just provide fairness and Kenya will be peaceful after elections. But finally also, the Ministry of Interior. I think you have the instruments to make sure that we are safe, the voters are safe, the candidates are safe, the IBC is safe to conduct a free election. So do it without bias. Because the indications that are coming up now in a few areas do not look very good indicators. Provide that and be also a referee that provides security for the safety of Kenyans and all the voters and for the candidates without bias.
Madam DCJ, 1 minute.
To say this, that during the election period, all other matters, civil and criminal, suffer because we do not have enough judges and magistrates to hear them. But we have advertised for 50 more magistrates so that those will be left doing the civil work while the rest of us who have been here longer and are properly trained handling the election petitions within the times allowed by the Constitution. And to put Daisy at peace, it would be terribly retrogressive not to follow progressive jurisprudence, which would be that there is no way we are going back on the 2/3 principle. Let political parties follow the 2/3 gender principle. And the trouble with us is that where there are deficiencies, then we don't come to enforce. Come to court and see if you don't get the appropriate orders that the 2/3 gender principle is obeyed. As to the reception of and admission of electronic evidence, please read our rules, and I thought you would have seen them by now. we will admit all evidence, and we know how to deal with it. The Supreme Court rules are now out for public participation. They are actually currently with the Law Society of Kenya, and we received your input, so we will deal with all evidence.
Thank you. Daisy, last 30 seconds.
Yes, last 30 seconds. Thank you for that assurance, Madam DCJ. Mine is really just to remind the chairman of IBC that the absence of subsidiary legislation does not negate the Constitution. The Constitution gives IBC powers and independence to enforce the law. Therefore, we expect, aside from nominations, the actual nominations under Article 90, we expect that IBC will ensure compliance by political parties on elective seats, so that even the lists that come to IBC for those who will go to the ballot must meet the not more than 2/3 gender principle, in keeping with Article 81B, that requires that even in elective offices, you cannot have more than 2/3 of the same gender. So we are expecting you to comply, because we know that Parliament has run rings around everybody on the 2/3 issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Daisy. Now, because of time, I want to call upon the session chair to round up the discussions. Thank you very much, and may the Lord bless you. Session chair, welcome.
Thank you very much. Let's give our moderator another round of applause. As we come to the end of this session, of course, I will want to take the very first opportunity to thank our panelists who have really articulated the issue of elections. As the discussions were going on, of course, I could see a lot of apprehension on the faces of the panel, of the participants of the conference, due to the nature of elections. This is a very sensitive issue, and it is an issue that is of concern to everybody. I only want to summarize by saying that as per the discussions and by the positive criticism that we are going to have, we are only going to have one thing passing on the 8th of August. The only thing that we would wish to pass on the 8th of August is the election, and that we will have our country intact and as it is, so that we can continue our lives. I don't think we want to take any more time. I want to say we appreciate your participation on this very sensitive discussion. We want to ask everybody to continue out there deliberating on this, and we want to particularly ask the chairman of the Electoral Commission not to only appear, but to carry some confidence in what his office entails, particularly the nature of this office, and perhaps talk to everybody, including the media, the conferences, and all the other people that are concerned, because this is the one institution that is going to make a difference in this election. We are together, and I'm sure we're going to perform. So I want to take the last opportunity, therefore, to thank all of you and wish you the very best as we continue to prepare ourselves for the election that is coming on the 8th of August for sure, as we have been assured by the chairman. Otherwise, God bless you as we continue to go to the next session. I therefore want to end. You'll take on. Yes, I will invite my colleagues to show us the way forward as we continue to finish. Thank you very much, panelists. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for them again, please. Madam Deputy CJ, I think you are launching Marifa program. We are coming to the end of the session. As we prepare for the closing ceremony, I would like to welcome the Deputy CJ to launch the Marifa program, but for just only 2 minutes. After that, we have Wiranov program. Again, the the NCSC chair to be here for 2 minutes, and I think he had something to be signed with the chair, Council of Governors, His Excellency Peter Munya, the Governor from Meru, COG chair. Yeah. And then we have got Daima, again to come and make a statement for 2 minutes, then we step in with the closing ceremony. What would you prefer?
I was told I would just read this, which is 2 minutes, and officially launch the
Marifa Center. Yeah.
Okay, you want to do it first or after them?
I think after them.
Okay.
I don't know which
Which
is
one would you
best.
prefer?
I don't know. Oh, you've changed?
No, you just do after them. You just do after them like that.
I do after them?
Yes, I think so.
So I just sit here or I go back to my seat?
No, not now. No, not now.
Professor,
Yeah.
I go back and then you call me.
I will call you.
Send you.
Can we have Wiano, please? Wiano program, and then Naima Kenya, prepare please for 2 minutes. Who is coming on behalf of Wiano for 2 minutes with with the program you are launching? Yes, yes. Wiano, please, 2 minutes maximum. Be patient, please. Your 2 minutes have begun, please. It is strict. Yes. Someone is catching a flight.
Yes.
Yes. Someone is catching a flight.
That's all right.
Yes.
Yeah, the officers who are in charge of making the presentation on behalf of the Wiano group, we have 2 minutes. Can you please do it now? Are you ready? Please go on. But meanwhile, as they get ready, I like to give the following copies to the following people. I want to give the first copy to the representative of the Ministry of the Interior and Coordination of National Government, Mr. Amos Gathecha, on behalf of the Minister. The second one is the Chair of the Council of Governors, the Honorable Peter Munya. Very quickly again, the third one is to the community of Kenya, the people of Kenya, represented by Mr. Stephen Ogutu as a mwananchi. It's Ogutu. Is it the one? Yes, it's the one. I can meet you there. And the final one is to the devolution warrior, Mr. Shamsa Sheikh. Shamsa Sheikh. Shamsa? All right? Oh, it is a her, not a him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we have a 1 minute video. Please go on.
Naima Mkenya. Naima Mkenya, please proceed. 2 minutes as well. Vimal Shah. Thank you. Thank you. Two minutes maximum. We have seen what Rihanna has done, please. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Karuti.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2 minutes, no more. All protocols observed, governors, your excellencies. I think, thank you very much for giving us this chance to come and present to you. I think we've got a very short presentation, which is not going to take too long. If it can be running on the screen, I'll speak about it. What we all need to know is what is Mkenya Daima. I think the issue is we've launched this about 5 years ago, and we launched it before the last elections. But it's a whole group coming together with the civil society, the religious bodies, the private sector, the university student leaders, the media councils, and of course a lot of other people coming together to say we all need to make sure that we have free, fair and credible elections. But the question was, in the past, this has always been about haki yetu, and I think this is where we're now talking about the people of Kenya. We need to get our people of Kenya inspired to say, ni wajibu wetu, sio haki yetu. Because till today, it's been haki yetu, and every individual comes back and says, it's my right, I need to get this. I think the issue is, the biggest power is not the governor, biggest power is not the president, the biggest power is the voter. And the voter has the biggest power individually, and they don't realize it. And this is where we're trying to say, let's inspire them towards a mission where we are very clearly non-partisan. And we want to tell everybody about this. It's a non-partisan platform where the primary purpose is to inspire Kenyans to say, let's look at elections in a nice way. Now, a lot of times we talk about this, but in the last 3 phases we've had in the past, we've had phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 already implemented, where we talked about inspiring Kenyans to say, this is my Kenya. My Kenya is not this and that. And I think that was the 3rd phase, was about rights have responsibilities. If I have my rights, I also have my responsibilities. I need to respond to the country in the right way. The leadership of elections, credible, free. I think that senators by to peace and having one minute, yeah? They have also circulated copies to. So can I this to come up?
of violence.
Exhibition.
Coming to you. Presence on towards the. We have had speakers from the judiciary with the Deputy Chief Justice, Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, saying that since 2014, the judiciary has been preparing itself when it comes to the handling of election petitions, as was the case in 2013, where also there was a contest in the presidential elections. So according to the judiciary, they have been preparing themselves, and so they will be ready in the handling of electoral petition cases that will present themselves this year. Also, the IEBC chair has also mentioned that Kenya is also ready for the elections, that come August they'll be able to prepare themselves for the elections. And now I take you back to the proceedings of the closing ceremony of the Devolution conference here in Naivasha.
For capturing of lessons and experiences from the 47 county governments. The vision of the center is to be Kenya's premier knowledge sharing and learning platform for effective governance and service delivery for sustainable development. Section 20B of the Intergovernmental Relations Act 2012 provided that one of the functions of the Council of Governors is to share information on the performance of counties in the execution of their functions with the objective of learning and promotion of best practice. Through this center, COG will collect, share, and promote the application of best practices, experiences, lessons, and innovations from all counties in Kenya and from other countries for the purpose of improving service delivery and influencing policies that promote the devolution and welfare of citizens. And therefore, the Council of Governors has been working with the support of the World Bank and other development partners, for the creation of the Marifa Center. So today, we decided that as part of this Devolution conference, we want to launch this center. Not everything has been completed yet. It's still work in progress. But the amount of work that has been done, we feel confident now we can launch it, we can start using it, as we deepen in terms of the information that is there, and also as we continue to create further linkages with other development partners. It is therefore my pleasure to invite the Deputy Chief Justice to be able to do this ceremony. I don't know whether this was or not.
No, they were not mine. Your Excellency, Governor Munya, the Chair of the Council of Governors, Excellencies Governors, this is the impact of devolution. Devolution continues to transform the lives of Kenyans by easing access to services in all counties, going by the tremendous progress across sectors since implementation of the devolved system of governance in the year 2013. Behind this progressive transformation, there are people, ideas, and practices that define the enabling factors for the success. Although some of the breakthroughs are brought to the knowledge of the public through media, we must acknowledge that there is lack of consistency in capturing and sharing these breakthroughs, while many more stories remain hidden and untold. This effectively denies counties the opportunity to learn from each other. The Council of Governors has, in collaboration with devolution stakeholders, established Marifa Center to spearhead sharing of experiences, lessons learned, and service delivery solutions on Kenya's devolution. Marifa Center is a knowledge sharing and learning platform for capturing of lessons and experiences from our 47 county governments. Through the center, the Council of Governors, in collaboration with devolution stakeholders, will collate, share, and promote the application of best practices, experiences, lessons, and innovations from all counties in Kenya and from other countries for the purpose of improving service delivery and influence policies and promote devolution and the welfare of Kenyans. This is in line with Article 20B of the Intergovernmental Relations Act 2012, which provides that one of the functions of the Council of Governors is to share information on the performance of counties in the execution of their functions with the objective of learning and promotion of best practice. As a show of commitment to propel devolution through knowledge, I'm well informed that the Council has identified knowledge-driven performance as one of the 5 pillars of its second strategic plan, 2017-2022. And over the next 5 years, they project increased investment in the center in establishing data management, frameworks and systems, capturing and sharing of best practices, innovations and models for service delivery under devolution. Marifa Center will play a key role in sourcing for and sharing credible data and evidence for promoting evidence-based advocacy. It is therefore my singular pleasure and honor to preside over this unique concept that will prevail devolution through the sharing of knowledge. And now I hereby declare that the Marifa Center is officially launched. I thank you.
Thank you. Please give a round of applause. Madam DCJ, may I request you to cut the ribbon of these booklets that describe Marifa as a symbol of the launch. Sorry, we're asking you to do everything, Carrie. Please give her another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Another clap, please. Now, I'm going to announce something that is very inaugural in this DevCon, Devolution Conference, and that's the exhibitions. We have been, all the counties have been doing fantastic job of exhibiting what they have. And we asked people to ballot actually today. We asked people to ballot for the best exhibition. And we had about 720 ballots. And I'm going to announce now the runners-up, second, first, and the overall winner. And I'll ask the Council of Governors chairman to come here and hand over the trophies or the prizes for these two, the people that have won the exhibition. The second runners-up, and I'll ask the governor to come and receive the prize. The second runners-up, Nakuru County, 57 votes. Nakuru representative, please. Nakuru, yes. Yeah, he's just here. Yeah, that's Nakuru County. 57 votes. That's for the second runners-up. Thank you very much. Clap for them, please. First runners-up. Who would like to come? That's Nyamira County, 73 votes. Please come over. The overall winner Nyamira wants to have a photo. Thank you. The overall winner is a very good friend of mine, my neighboring county. I don't know who can guess who that one is. Which one is that? A very good friend of mine, Kitui County. Let's clap for them, please. They got 103 votes. 103 votes for this inaugural exhibition. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. The votes were cast for only the counties that had exhibitions, not for anyone who did not have exhibitions. We had 17 spoiled ballots, but I will not explain how they were spoiled. I'll ask the Deputy Governor to come over now and begin taking over the process after this. I mean, to forward the process for us. Deputy Chair to come and take the process forward. And the Session Chair, Senator Kembi Gechora. Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Senator Kembi Gechora.
So the things that we need to go through.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. These are the things that we need to go through.
Yes, you communique, you read the communique, then Kembi Gitora will call for the remarks in that order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just brief you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay. So these are the things that we need to do. Read the communique, and then basically you take over this UNVP to be invited. Okay. Oh, sorry. And then Yang what is the job?
Is he here? Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, he can come out. He should come out here.
Yeah. Well, can I invite all of them to come over?
Yes. And UNDP.
Yeah. I would like to ask the UNDP country director to come over, Professor Peter Nyang to come over for the closing ceremony, please. And I've been reminded again to remind all the governors that they are going to have a working lunch immediately after this closing session. There's going to be a working lunch of a lunch hour after this closing session. I'm handing over now to the Deputy Speaker of the Senate to proceed. Thank you. Where is he? Is he here? The principal of this institute, the Kenya Wildlife Service Training Institute, please. We'd like you to come and make a few remarks so that we can recognize you. And thank you very much. Let's clap for him, please. We've been using his facilities and we didn't even ask him to come and say hi to us, and we are sorry, apologies for that, we rushed time, but thank you very much again. Just make your remarks, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our chief guest, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Devolution and Planning, the Chair of the Council of Governors, Your Excellency Peter Munya, the Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, Your Excellencies, the governors present here today, Honorable Senators, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I must say the Institute is honored, privileged, and humbled to host this 4th annual Devolution Conference. When we were initially approached to host this conference, we were a bit hesitant, and for good reasons. We have a conferencing function, but we only host on average 200 to 250 persons per week. So hosting 7,000 delegates in 3 days is something that was going to not only stretch us to our limits, but possibly bust us. But with a little encouragement from the Council of Governors and other parties, we were able to put our act together. And today, we are very humbled that we've been able to host this very, very important national conference. We can't take it for granted. And my students, our members of staff, have a very big thank you to you all for giving us this opportunity to really serve you and host you for these 3 days. We are a public training institute, turning 32 this year, having opened its doors to the public in 1985. At inception, it was mainly catering for in-service training for public servants in the wildlife and fisheries sectors, but has evolved over the years to now provide specialized and competency-based training in the fields of natural resource management, tourism, and hospitality management. Today, our student population is 717. And in those numbers, we have a story to tell about devolution. We have seen in those numbers devolution transforming the lives of our students. quite a number of our students pursue their training here courtesy of financial support from the county governments. In fact, 20, to be specific, 20 county governments are financially supporting the training of quite a number of our students. This is obviously transforming their lives. It's obviously instilling skills and competencies in them that are going to be very useful in building and developing this great country of ours. So we are extremely grateful, and we have our story to tell insofar as devolution is concerned. Our other face, which you might already be aware of, is wildlife conservation. You are sitting in a venue that is actually a government-designated protected area. So we have a bit of wildlife here, which I'm sure many of you have seen. And I've received a lot of questions from many delegates. How sure are you that these animals are not going to interfere with the conference? And my answer has been very simple. We had a mini conference with the wildlife, and we agreed that they give this conference space so that we are able to successfully hold it. So today, we are very happy, and I've just been asked to make very brief remarks. I would like in closing to just make a very passionate appeal to the chair of the Council of Governors that the Institute will look very favorably at a proposal to host the 5th Devolution Conference if you give us that opportunity. Thank you very much. God bless Kenya. God bless Devolution. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. This is going to be a short ceremony. The chairman of the Council of Governors, Honorable Governor Peter Munya, Honorable Mwangi Kionjuri, Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, all honorable governors present here today, and the deputy governors, the senators. Mine is a very simple and direct task because it is one of just presiding over the closing ceremony. But to be amiss if I maybe don't say one or two words of how important this has been, the last 3 days that we've been here, and the many things and the panels that have been here discussing the issues that touch on each one of us. And the theme about devolution, the success of devolution, tell you a story, I think was a very apt theme for this devolution conference, because as it were, this is the last devolution conference of the first term of governors, or rather the first term of devolution really, because this is the first 4 years that we've had. And when we come next for the 5th devolution conference, it will be in a new dispensation. So I think the question, tell your story, has been very important. And all of us can tell different stories, but I think the best story is that yes, devolution is working. It may not have worked as well as it would have, but this is the first one. These are pioneer governors, we are pioneer senators, and all of us have learned a lot from these first 4 years. And when we tell our story at the beginning of the 5th year, which will be the second session as it were, I'm sure it will be a much stronger story that all of us shall be able to tell. Listening to the panels this morning and this afternoon, I felt very encouraged, but particularly when we talked about corruption, the state of corruption in our country today. When I listened to Archbishop retired Dr. Eliud Wabukala and the panel that he headed this morning, I felt very encouraged, and I can see that yes, there is hope, and if we take the issues that were discussed this morning seriously, then we shall see light at the end of the tunnel, and it will not be a train coming, it will be a ray of hope. The issue of lifestyle audits was discussed at great length. The role of the Senate was discussed at great length in the Public Accounts and Investments Committee, which is headed by Professor Peter Anyang, and how all of us can work together towards making this a success story. So when you come for the 5th Devolution Conference, I'm sure the story will be one of great success and on something that we'll be able to build upon. But mine was not to make a speech. Mine was really just to preside over this session so that we can then be able to have a closing by the Honorable Cabinet Secretary. But before we do that, I would like to invite the Deputy Chair of the Council of Governors, Honorable Governor Mrutu, to present to us the communique that has come out of this meeting. You have the floor, Governor Mrutu.
Thank you very much, Session Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, and standing on the protocols that have been established earlier, I just want to, and before I read the joint communique, which has been derived from the speeches that were made here and also the sessions that have taken place from Tuesday today, I just thought that I need to recognize those that were in the steering committee. The realization of this conference is obviously a lot of hard work has gone into it. I'm not sure whether all members of the steering committee are present here, but other than myself, the Senate was represented by the Speaker of the Senate, who I know isn't here, Professor Lesan. If he's still in the room, Professor Lesan, obviously not. Deputy Governors represented by the Chair, DG Mangi of Kisii, the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. I see the PS here. The Presidency was also represented, as well as the County Speakers Forum. I see the Chair is here. Can I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that you give them a round of applause for the work that they put in to bring us to where it is. I know that my colleague is going to give a vote of thanks later, but this is the last time I think I have an opportunity to say something, and I wanted to acknowledge those that I've worked with. You'll bear with me, the communique is rather long, it's 7 pages, and I think it's a reflection of what has gone on through here. I think the discussions were very, very rich, the suggestions as well, very, very relevant, and I think those that were doing rapporteuring felt that it is good that they all get captured because they have value as we move forward. And therefore, I read. The 4th Annual Devolution Conference was held between the 6th and 9th of March 2017 at the Kenya Wildlife Service Training Institute in Nakuru County. The main objective of the Devolution Conference was to assess the progress in implementation of the devolved system of government as witnessed over the past 4 years. The conference provided a platform for the national and county governments, ordinary citizens, the private sector, civil society, and development partners to interact and share lessons on devolution and inform the way forward for the implementation of the 2nd phase of devolution after the general elections in August of 2017. In line with the conference theme, Devolution Transforming Lives, Tell Your Story, the conference participants resolved and recommended the following: that amendment of the Constitution to anchor the 45% minimum equitable share to counties be carried out. 2, that state agencies, corporations, and regional development authorities must be restructured to align to the devolved system of government. 3, that all conditional grants must directly be disbursed to county revenue fund accounts without being channeled to any line ministry. And 4, that intergovernmental institutions must be strengthened to act independently and properly institutionalized to improve their effectiveness. And that the National Ministry Department must support devolution. In Plenum 1, which dealt with the promoting economic transformation through an enabling business environment, the following was resolved. 1, that there is need to develop a legal framework to guide issues of multiplicity of taxes and charges within the county and trans-county to create an enabling business environment. And 2, that county government should deepen mechanism for public participation in county planning processes. And plenum 2 on agriculture transformation for food security, rural development, and wealth creation, the following was resolved. 1, that in order to address food security challenges and in order to create surplus in the rural areas, there is need to allocate adequate resources for small-scale irrigation, mechanization, and extension services, since real transformation will be driven by smallholder farmers. And 2, that National Treasury to allocate more resources for small-scale irrigation to county governments and for Ministry of Water and Irrigation. On the 3rd plenum, which dealt with the promoting accelerated investment and access to markets, 1, that there is need to improve citizens' education on investment opportunities in each county and to provide business development services that enable enterprises to invest in profitable innovations in the energy sector. That there is need to ensure that bills passed by the National Assembly and the Senate do not claw back and re-centralize devolved functions for all natural and re-centralize devolved functions. And 3, that National Treasury should set up regulations to devolve private-public partnerships approval authorities to counties as a means to accelerate investment in renewable energy, since energy is a concurrent function. That there should be additional funds for roads as the court order that recognized county roads. On plenum 4, which dealt with the potential and opportunities for natural resource management within the context of achieving sustainable development goals, the following was recommended: that there is a need to build capacity of county institutions and to strengthen institutions and mechanisms for planning and managing natural resources within the performance management framework for county governments, and also avail the necessary technology to enable counties exploit natural resources in a sustainable manner. And 2, that there is need to enhance collaboration with private and non-state actors for sustainable water projects across the country. And 3, that there is need to align national and county policies in order to ensure effective and sustainable management of natural resources. Even where the function is predominantly the responsibility of the national government, the structures should be devolved in order to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of service delivery. That national governments and county governments should adopt innovative ways of managing natural resources in a sustainable manner, including payment of ecosystem services and strengthening enforcement mechanisms, and to develop a natural resource sharing framework to ensure that counties and their residents benefit from the gains obtained from the utilization of natural resources. On plenum 5, which dealt with equality and inclusivity development at the county level for sustainable development, the following was resolved: that county governments should enhance participation of women, youth, and persons with a disability in planning and budgeting processes. And 2, that county governments should enhance mainstreaming and empowerment of gender policies and strategies to guide design, resourcing, and implementation of programs and projects. 3, that county and national government should invest in key sectors such as education, health, agriculture, and ICT, and take advantage of the youth bulge through strategic policies and development of structures to reap from the demographic dividends. And 4, that there's a need to provide more resources and attention to ECD and social protection for women, youth, persons, and persons with disability and marginalized groups. Plenum 6 dealt with building resilient and climate-smart cities for growth and sustainable development. And in here, the following was resolved: that the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011, which was further revised in 2015, excludes urban areas that have a population of less than 10,000 in the classification criteria for urban areas. Therefore, county governments should develop legislation to enable classification of urban areas with a population of less than 10,000 residents. And 2, that the 2 levels of government and the Independent National Land Commission should therefore dialogue on how to address issues in the land sector. And 3, that despite urban areas contributing over 60% of Kenya's GDP, there continues to be little allocation of financial resources to support urban planning, management, and development by both levels of government. Therefore, both levels of government should prioritize allocating more resources to support urban service provision. Panel 7 dealt with the media perspective on devolution for development. 1, that the media should ensure there is a balanced and accurate reporting on the state of implementation of devolution in the country. And 2, that the licensing authority, which is a communication authority, should enable the county government to establish local radio stations to ease communication with its citizens. Panel 8 dealt with ensuring health lives and promoting well-being in a devolved system of governance. That there is need for national government to release the devolved functions of health as stipulated in Schedule 4 of the Constitution of Kenya to the county governments. That the Senate needs to interrogate the budgetary allocations to health before the funds are released to the counties. And 3, that in regards to specialized doctors, there is need to develop a policy that provides for remuneration based on work done. And 4, that more resources and efforts be directed towards preventive healthcare other than curative healthcare. At least 25% of the total county government budgets should be allocated to health. On 9, this was discussed facing corruption as a drawback to development agenda. That in order to tame corruption that undermines delivery of services, each level of government must commit to promote transparency and accountability and adhere to Chapter 6 of the Constitution, promote public participation in prevention of corruption, and move towards corruption-free counties and a corrupt-free national government. And 2, that counties should set up peer review mechanisms, including auto-criticism, and partner with civil societies to ensure vibrant structures are put in place. And 3, that counties should ensure that the data they are sending to the control of budgets are accurate. On session number 10, which dealt with preparedness and planning to seamless transition, the following was recommended: that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission undertakes its activities in a transparent manner so as to improve public trust and confidence in the institution and in the electoral process. That IBC should ensure timely procurement and deployment of technology, develop a credible voter register, and a credible, inclusive electoral management process, ensure security of the voters, security of votes, and security of results in order to deliver results in a transparent, efficient, and credible manner. And 2, that both levels of government should undertake to facilitate and ensure smooth and peaceful transfer of the instruments of power after the 2017 general elections in accordance with the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, prior to this conference, there was a Children's Devolution Conference that was held in Nairobi Primary School in Nairobi County. And the children that attended that conference also had their recommendations. And if you recall, they were read here on the first day of this conference. And these recommendations are also included in this communique. And I shall read them as well. 1, that the 2 levels of government should work together and facilitate implementation of the resolutions of the inaugural Children's Devolution Conference, which ran from the 27th to 28th February, as outlined in the conference communique, which is annexed to this communique, with special attention to the following, among others. A, enhancing protection and participation of children by establishing children rescue homes and centers, as well as devising mechanisms for enhancing interaction between county officials and representatives of children. B, support education programs that are inclusive, especially for vulnerable children, children with disability, and children from marginal areas, and ensure that ECD and vocational training centers have better facilities and adequate teachers. And C, that more investment in infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and alternative sources of energy such as solar and wind to improve learning environment. And D, more attention to environmental conservation and recycling of waste, especially plastic, in collaboration with children, including having county cleaning days. And E, county governments, especially governors, to take responsibility and address the issues of corruption at the county level. And F, that county governments recognize the protection of children with disability and undertake programs aimed at taking affirmative action to ensure equal access to services provided by county governments. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the communique that contains the recommendations and observations that has come from the speeches that were made here and the plenums that have been held from day one up to today. And my role was to read what was captured by those that were doing rapporteuring. And with your permission, therefore, I'll ask our chairman and the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Devolution and Planning to append their signatures to this communique from this conference. I thank you.
Do you want to do it now or when you come to make your remarks? I think it's good you do it now so that we can have it behind us.
Can this table be provided here?
Yeah, so they can sign it.
They can sign here.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor Peter Munya and Honorable Mwangi Kiunjuri, CS. It's now my pleasure to invite the UNDP County Director, Amanda Serumaga, to make her brief remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, the Governor of Meru County and the Chair of the Council of Governors, other governors present, senators, Cabinet Secretaries, Excellencies, and other participants with all protocols observed. I'm honored to stand here today in behalf of the Resident Coordinator representing the United Nations at this conference. While it has been labeled as a devolution conference, it has been much more, a conference about Kenya's future. Few countries have accomplished this much change in their governance structure in such a short time. It is significant what Kenya has achieved, and already officials from other countries and international scholars are visiting Kenya to study this truly great achievement. Congratulations must go to all stakeholders in Kenya who have worked so hard to make devolution a success. National and county governments have done a commendable job, And we must acknowledge the tireless efforts of not just the governors and the council, but the CEO, Jackie Mogeni, and her staff for their tireless work. Devolution is both a process and an end result. The issues raised at this conference have highlighted this. In particular, as work continues to improve governance and to make a positive impact on the lives of all Kenyans, it is important that we ensure that no one gets left behind. Here I make reference to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which offer a paradigm shift towards a more balanced model for development. The SDGs target not only economic, social, and cultural rights, but also civil and political rights. It is thus important that the process and end results of devolution entrench and implement Kenya's obligations as part of the community of nations, including rights under international human rights law. I'm also encouraged by the many mentions of the SDGs by national and county officials in this conference. Counties have reported using the SDGs to guide them on gender, climate change, and health issues over the past 3 days. Kenya is ahead of many countries in this regard. I think we can all agree that devolution is about bringing governance closer to the people. It offers an opportunity to entrench a democratic culture in counties. The inclusion of Wananchi in this conference reflects this reality, and I congratulate the Council and Governors for this initiative. The UN is helping the national government and counties provide civic education and promote public participation. This can contribute to inclusive governance through entrenching the rule of law and promoting respect for human rights. Together, this can facilitate a sustainable foundation for devolution's long-term success and act as an enabler for the greater economic growth. Devolution also creates opportunities for local conflict detection, prevention, and mediation mechanisms to flourish. The UN is working with government counterparts at the national and county levels on conflict prevention and strengthening early warning mechanisms to stem conflicts, including cross-border conflicts, as we work with national leaders and local communities on the Kenya-Ethiopia border. We are making significant progress, but more needs to be done, particularly as we prepare for the upcoming elections. Just as devolution is a process, the UN approaches elections not as a singular moment, but as a cyclical process that works towards deepening democracy. It is therefore our hope that this electoral process will demonstrate a consolidation of democratic gains achieved since 2013 and allow devolution to continue to contributing to Kenya's incredible progress. It is thus encouraging to have heard the various commitments to achieve peaceful, transparent, and thus credible elections. Stakeholders from all sides and all levels have spoken this week about something that they all agree during this conference, that devolution works. Let that be an issue that binds and unites everyone during the upcoming elections. The UN, with the support of development partners, is supporting many aspects of the electoral process, from addressing technical support to promoting greater participation of women. The involvement of women is of great concern to the UN in many areas, not just elections. Just as there's no development without peace, there should be no development without women and the inclusion of gender issues. Yesterday, His Excellency the President and the Secretary General of the United Nations, while celebrating International Women's Day in Nairobi, expressed commitment to advancing gender issues to better advance all of society. It is our hope that amongst the progress we will see is greater adherence to the 2/3 gender role that has been spoken of today. On youth, we know that Kenya is now home to the largest youth population witnessed in its history. About 72% of the population of Kenya is below the age of 35. While those below the age of 15 years stand at 43%. Youth must be empowered to be critical agents for positive socioeconomic change. This requires government and the private sector together to make investments that unleash the power of youth to innovate and become productive citizens. In conclusion, distinguished guests, while devolution's transition period is technically over and the institutional structure is set, all of the achievements that devolution has brought to the people of Kenya and all of devolution's future promise must be safeguarded. Key to this is the exercise of proper fiduciary control and the exercise of spending in an accountable, transparent, and an appropriate manner. Without this, devolution will be questioned by citizens and its very promise diminished. It was thus very encouraging to listen to some of the frank discussion earlier this afternoon, and it is challenging but a sensitive topic that cannot be ignored. In behalf of the UN Resident Coordinator, the UNDP representative, and myself, we are grateful with the partnership that the UN and other development partners have played in supporting devolution and this conference. The UN stands willing and able to continue to partner with counties and national government to continue this support and help ensure that the hopes and aspirations of Kenyans are realized. The ambition of devolution is enormous. To date, great strides have been made. At the conclusion of the 4th Annual Devolution Conference, I offer my hearty congratulations and best wishes for continued progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, I'll invite Senator Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o to make remarks on behalf of the Right Honorable Dr. Raila Amolo Odinga, our former Prime Minister. Senator Anyang' Nyong'o, you have the floor.
The CS in charge of devolution, my friend Mwangi Kiunjuri, the chairman of the Council of Governors, my friend Peter Munya, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker of the Senate, my friend Kembi Gutura, all present, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to beseech you for the next couple of minutes to assume that I'm the Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga speaking before you. So accord me the necessary respect I deserve. I am proud to stand before you and speak at this 4th Devolution Conference that also celebrates the first 5 years of devolution. I'm aware that all of you are defending your seats in the coming elections, and I wish each of you success in that endeavor. I want to believe you too wish me well in my endeavors. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, and with your permission, I intend to spend a little more time speaking about the next 5 years and what we must do together to achieve the best result. All of you must have heard the very bitter debate on what we initially called Majimbo, which we later called Ugatuzi, and which we today called devolution, in the shape of 47 counties. You recall the doomsday prophets predicting that Kenya was not ready for devolution, that devolution would tear the country apart and pit tribe against tribe. 5 years on, we all agree that devolution has been a revolution and a force for good. Yes, there are localized tensions pitting communities against each other in competition for power and resources. But we all agree that the gains far outweigh the problems. We have not seen the secession threats that were predicted. No county is threatening to leave the Union of the Republic of Kenya. Even communities that were made to vote against the Constitution of 2010 have never said their counties should be abolished to enable a return to the old central government. Like other Kenyans, they are demanding the strengthening and better management of their counties. Devolution, ladies and gentlemen, remains by far the most popular constitutional option Kenya has embarked on since independence. I remain convinced that Kenya's future is devolved government. Devolution has empowered communities and enhanced their participation in national development. Devolution has created a chance for long marginalized regions to catch up with others. We have seen good investment, especially in infrastructure, health, water services, sanitation, electrification, and early childhood education across all counties. The lesson is that as a nation, we must never fear change. We must always be ready to embrace and experiment with new ideas if we are to move forward as a country. It reminds us of the words of President J.F. Kennedy, who said, and I quote, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future," unquote. When we embrace devolution, we signal our refusal to be held hostage by our past. I remain convinced that those who continue to oppose or sabotage devolution are those who look only to the past and who are certain to miss the future. It is this future that I wish to speak to you about in some detail today with regard to devolution. We have spent the first term of devolution laying the ground for its takeoff. Most of the times, we had no precedents to fall back on. As pioneers, you have sojourned on, counting on the lack of history being on your side. By standing firm against monumental challenges and teething problems, you planted the seeds of devolution deep into the Kenyan soil as a force for good. For the sake of our country and our people, we must make the next 5 years of devolution different and deeply rewarding. We must have a harmony in the counties. We spent the first term wasting time, energy, and resources on unnecessary wars between the county executives and the members of the county assemblies. Indeed, some of the wars that crippled counties were sponsored by external forces operating from Nairobi. Many were fueled by personal greed. We have spent the first term on supremacy wars between the national government and the county governments. The national government has spent these first 5 years sitting on resources and functions meant for counties. The pain of these fights has been borne by Wananchi, who cared the least, who is the greatest among us, and only needed services to be delivered. Counties are not going to succeed in an environment of hostility and duplication of rules. Health has had serious challenges with regard to funding and personnel, which has given way to the current strike. That strike has dragged on because from the start, the national government pursued a policy of imposition and not negotiations. Doctors were made to negotiate with the ministry leadership, whose word or competence they had no reason to believe. This came on top of the refusal by the national government to give the counties the freedom to set their priorities, including whether to put money on equipment or on personnel. The take it or leave it attitude employed by the national government has only worsened the bad situation. Doctors, like all professionals, deserve respect as they struggle to deliver to the citizens against great odds. In the typical style of glossing over facts in favor of propaganda, the government has characterized the strike to be entirely about pay, saying nothing about training and equipment needs. Nothing will change as long as the discredited leadership at the Ministry of Health remains protected despite its failures and corruption. These supremacy wars, ladies and gentlemen, must stop during the next 5 years of devolution. The second term of devolution must begin with a clear understanding by all that devolution is here as a right, that governors are heads of county governments and they are not rivals of the heads of the national government, that powers and resources meant for devolved units are understood by all and shall be surrendered to the counties, that the entire county systems now know what is to be done by who and will not need time and money wasting benchmarking trips, and that everyone reports to duty ready to deliver from day one. In many counties, we have tried to replicate the operations and activities of the old central government, resulting in wrong priorities and a number of white elephant projects. We have to accept that we cannot pursue the future by reproducing the past. 5 years of experimenting are more than enough. The next 5 years must see the evolution of clearly conceived and well-executed life-changing programs at the grassroots. In the next 5 years, we must make a clean break with the past and make devolution the revolution it really is. It is my conviction, ladies and gentlemen, that in the next 5 years, we can make the new order so smooth and so lush that hardly anyone will remember the pain, the tensions, the failed experiments, and the wars that characterized the first 5 years of devolution. Devolution must deepen the miracle we all know it can deliver. We must not take devolution as a given and a self-propelling reality. We must be prepared to undertake a thorough audit to establish what further powers and resources not currently being devolved to counties which need to be devolved. As you are aware, our coalition proposes raising devolved resources to 47% of the national revenue. We are also identifying a few other functions to be devolved. An audit would be necessary to establish new areas and the number of existing functions and resources that we need to devolve. We have seen many hiccups paralyze critical sectors like health. For instance, governors were made to sign for health equipment that was clearly not their priority. We must seek ways to safeguard counties against such intrusions that end up turning upside down their priorities and their ability to deliver to the electorate. Devolution was never intended to be a tool for economic empowerment. Central as economic development is, devolution was also intended to be a tool for deepening democracy and enhancing rights and freedoms. How we have fared on in this needs to be audited and appreciated and actions taken. Going forward, we must increase and strengthen public engagement on all matters around devolved units. Counties are too close to the people that we cannot afford to ignore or impose decisions on the people. The desire by the people to participate in the affairs of their lives is one of the main reasons they supported the creation of county governments during the review of the Constitution. Counties will need to ensure that their decision-making processes are more open, transparent, and consultative. Our counties will need to set out clearer objectives for decisions they make and put in place mechanisms for the public to judge the impact of the decisions. To achieve these grand goals, ladies and gentlemen, we must work on ensuring that devolution attracts committed leaders from persons whose goals are not from persons whose goals are nothing but self-aggrandizement. And strengthening place in the thinking of the voters as we go to election this coming August. Within the counties, we must begin to give serious thought to the rise of localized conflicts and tensions fueled by a competition for resources, including appointments. We have seen, ladies and gentlemen, the winner-takes-all problem that was initially domiciled at the national level sprout in counties, pitting minorities against majorities. We must address these by ensuring that the inclusivity agenda is taken seriously in the counties in accordance with our Constitution. We have seen conflicts sprout over poorly defined border between counties like Meru and Isiolo, Vihiga and Kisumu. We will need to consider the proposal by the Commission on Administrative Justice for the creation of a county boundaries commission to clearly mark out county borders after the elections. Parliament will be critical to our agenda for strengthening devolution. We will need to give serious thoughts to who gets elected as MPs, because they will determine how much we entrench devolution or whether devolution will last at all. We need to know, ladies and gentlemen, that as supporters of devolution have fought these 5 years to ensure it gains recognition. Opponents have learned where they lost the plot and will be looking for men and women who can gun up effectively in support of re-centralization. It is my firm conviction that under exceptional circumstances, an extraordinary generation of leaders can improvise as they move along for the sake of their country. That is the history we must make in the next 5 years. I am confident, ladies and gentlemen, that the mission of devolution will succeed in our lifetime. And history will absolve so many patriots who have sacrificed their lives in this struggle to achieve devolution. God bless you. It is now my honor, single honor, on behalf of the Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, to say kwaherini, Mungu awabariki.
Thank you very much, Senator Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o. Our program is such that we are going to have a vote of thanks now before we proceed to the closing remarks by the chairman of the Council of Governors and then by the Cabinet Secretary for Devolution. So I'd like to invite Governor Nkadianye to please come forward and move a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Session Chair. I will try to be very brief in this vote of thanks. The Chairman, Council of Governors, His Excellency Peter Munya, Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Ambassador Kembi Gitura, Cabinet Secretary for Devolution and Planning, Honorable Mwangi Kiunjuri, Deputy Chief Justice, Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, United Nations Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative, Mr. Siddharth Chatterjee, the Principal of the Kenya Wildlife Service Training Institute, Dr. Charles Musyoki, Excellency Governors present, Cabinet Secretaries present, Development Partners present, representatives from the County Executive Committees, members of the County Assemblies, representatives from the government departments, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by recognizing and appreciating the national government's commitment towards this year's annual Devolution Conference, and specifically His Excellency the President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, who graciously accepted to be our chief guest. His commitment towards devolution has enabled us unlock various intergovernmental challenges, such as the ongoing doctors' strike. I must say that this year's conference has been achieved through a collaborative process involving a very committed steering committee led by the unwavering Right Honorable Ekwe Thuro, Speaker of the Senate, His Excellency Engineer John Mrutu, the co-chair of the steering committee, and Honorable Mwangi Kiunjuri, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Devolution and Planning. It is also important to convey special thanks to the principal of the Kenya Wildlife Training Institute, Dr. Charles Musyoki, who has been one of the silent heroes of this conference. From the first day that we assessed this venue as a potential site for the conference, he has been steadfast in ensuring that our needs with respect to hosting this conference are well taken care of. Let us give him a hefty round of applause in appreciation. Thank you. Secondly, we also want to thank the Archbishop Ndingi, Archbishop Ndingi Secondary School for allowing us to use their facility for registration even when the students were in session. Any inconveniences to the students are highly regretted. Special gratitude goes to the conference facilitators, Professor Karuti Kanyinga and Professor Margaret Kamar, who have kept us focused during the conference. They have been part of this journey since the second annual Devolution Conference in Kisumu. This conference would not have been this successful without our speakers, moderators, and panelists who spared their time to share with us their experience during the 3 days. Let's also give them a round of applause. We all agree that the multi-agency planning committee chaired by Ms. Jacqueline Mogeni, the CEO Council of Governors, did a marvelous job in ensuring that the conference was well planned and executed. They have been working tirelessly since August 2016 to put together this conference. Thank you, Jacqueline, and your team. I request the team to stand up. And please let us give them a round of applause. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. We cannot forget to mention a very important partner in this process, the county government of Nakuru, led by His Excellency Kinuthia Mbugua, for preparing to host this conference within a very short time. As you are all aware, this conference was originally meant to be held in Narok County. But however, due to the large numbers of expected delegates, Mara, being a conservation area, was not an ideal venue due to the foreseen interference with the ecosystem. All the same, special gratitudes go to Narok County, specifically to His Excellency Samuel Tunai for his willingness and commitment to host the conference. Some of the other persons and institutions we would like to appreciate are as follows: Chairmania Events, Homeboys, the Budget Hotels Association of Nakuru, the Office of the Inspector General and Kenya Wildlife Service Wardens, the media houses, and you, the delegates. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Indeed, we have achieved a lot during the 3 days that we have been here. We are all in agreement that devolution is working and is transforming the lives of our citizens. We have been able to examine the key gaps in the implementation of devolution that were not considered by the existing legal framework, but which are critical to the success of devolution. We have all committed ourselves to ensuring that the resolutions read out within the joint communique are implemented. Just yesterday, we celebrated the International Women's Day. The day was meant to commemorate the struggles for women's rights and celebrating the socio-economic and political achievements that women have made so far. As a Council of Governors, we applaud all the women regardless of their social status on the contribution to the success of devolution. I take this opportunity to once again congratulate the winners of the Devolution Warrior Awards. For the benefit of those who missed the awards dinner, let me repeat the winners in brief. Number 1, the Devolution Warrior of the Year went to the former Chief Justice, Dr. Willie Mutunga. Thank you. Number 2, the Service Delivery Award went to Beyond Zero campaign. 3, the Public Participation Award went to the Institute of Social Accountability, TISA. Number 4, the Knowledge Management Award went to Commission on Revenue Allocation, CRA. Number 5, the Gender Award went to Ms. Mary Mudhoni, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Number 6, the Peace Award went to Stephen Ogutu. Number 7, the Media Award went to the Standard Media Group. Lastly, join me in conveying heartfelt gratitude to the following partners and sponsors for their financial, technical, and in-kind support towards this successful conference. Number 1, the Senate. 2, Ministry of Devolution and Planning. 3, UNICEF. 4, UN Women. 5, UNDP. 6, USAID. 7, UK Aid. 8. UNFPA, 9. County Pensions Fund, 10. Kenya Revenue Authority, 11. Telcom Enterprise, 12. NHIF, 13. KCB Bank, 14. Caseware Africa, 15. The Cooperative Bank, 16. KenGen, 17. PricewaterhouseCoopers, 18. Uyano Platform for Peace, 19. DT Dobie, 20. Deloitte, 21. The Institute for Social Accountability, and 22. Keroshe Breweries. As I conclude, I would like to reiterate on the need to promote peaceful campaigns during the upcoming general elections scheduled for August 2017. We must protect our people from any form of incitement. At this juncture, I would like to officially invite our Chairman, Council of Governors, who will then in turn invite the official I would like to invite the chairman, but before I do that, I'm told there is a small present here to be given to the principal of this institute, and I want to officially invite him to come forward and receive the present. So ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to now invite the chairman, COG, to come forward so he can invite the official visitor to come and close this conference. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes. Thank you very much.
My role is very simple. This afternoon or this evening, to invite Mwangi Kiunjuri to come and represent the Deputy President in the closing ceremony. But before I do that, let me also add my voice to the voice of Kendienye in thanking you all for actively taking part in the 4th Devolution Conference. You all agree with me that the objectives of this conference have been met, and we will leave the conference hall with our spirits high and our commitment to devolution renewed. And where we may have deviated or lost the way, our energies again is redirected in keeping the course. May I also thank all the presenters and the leaders and the chairmen of the sessions who have done a fantastic job. One of the objectives of this conference specifically was also to engage the commitment of those who want to be given leadership of the country, to engage their commitment to devolution. And I'm sure you have listened to all of them, including the president when he gave his speech during the opening ceremony, and the former vice president also when he addressed the conference yesterday. And today, the indomitable senator of Kisumu, representing engineer Raila Odinga. You've seen all of them have given their commitment to devolution once given the reins of power. So I also therefore wanted to take this opportunity to thank the former Right Honorable Prime Minister for his clarity in thought and his clear commitment on providing adequate resources to fund devolution. In fact, I heard the senator talking about 47%. So he's even gone higher than what the Council of Governors have been demanding, because the Council of Governors have been demanding 45%. We are hearing his commitment on 47%, and even additional devolved functions, which we have been also saying that certain functions would rather better be done at the county level. We've been proposing functions like infrastructure for schools, certain aspects of conflict management and security also being devolved to be able to be taken care at the local level, where the local government actually understands the issues at the local level better. So we want to thank him, convey our appreciation of the Council of Governors to the former Prime Minister, and wish him quick recovery from the slight illness I'm told he suffered yesterday. Without really taking too long, because really this is a closing ceremony, I want again to give the commitment of the Council of Governors in terms of implementation of the recommendations that have been made by the conference that are within our purview, and call upon other stakeholders who have also been called upon to take action on specific recommendations to do so that these recommendations do not just collect dust in the shelves and become just another routine exercise in making recommendations that are never implemented. So with those very many remarks, join me then in applauding the Minister for Devolution, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of devolution, to come and close the ceremony. You know, the Minister for Devolution, sometimes people confuse him with me. I don't know whether they confuse him with me or they confuse me with him. Because some places I go, I'm called Kiunjuri. And in some places also he goes, he's called Munya. Because we have a lot in common in terms of being age mates, and also in terms of being friends and having shared a lot of time together when we were growing up. So another applause for him as he addresses the conference.
And sometimes when I was jobless and I was confused with you, I took that advantage. Thank you very much, and good evening. May I first apologize on behalf of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. He was not able to be with us today for the closing session, but I believe, as Professor Anyang' Nyong'o did, I will ably represent him. These are his remarks. The COG Chair, Governor Munya, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, representing the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, the Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, my friend Senator Kembi, senators present, honorable members of parliament present, excellent ambassadors and heads of missions, members of county assemblies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to be part of this conference, as it symbolizes how far we have come as a country and why it is important to celebrate the great steps we have made in the last 4 years. I note with pleasure the continued commitment of the institutions represented in this room today, which I believe signifies the importance of continued cooperation in advancing the development agenda for our country. It is true testimony that we all have a role to play. Of course, all this would not have been possible without the close cooperation between national and county governments, and for that, I want to thank and congratulate the Council of Governors for providing the necessary leadership. In this case, ladies and gentlemen, Article 10 of the Constitution highlights sustainable development as a core value and principle for good governance. This conference has touched on various issues which are very crucial for sustained development of our country. The main goal of Kenya Vision 2030 is to have global, competitive, and prosperous nation with a high quality of life. The economic, social, and political pillar of Kenya Vision 2030 are anchored in macroeconomic stability, continuity in governance reforms, enhanced equity and wealth creation opportunities for everyone. In order to achieve this, we have targeted critical sectors like infrastructure, energy, science, technology, and innovation, land reforms, human capacity development, and security, all of which are important to achieving sustainable economic growth of 10% per annum for the next 25 years. Strides have been made towards making this a reality, but much more needs to be done to move us from the current 5.6% growth to the desired level of growth. Ours is a huge task to provide a platform where national and county governments can work together to achieve this. As we speak here today, you will agree with me that devolution, which is the symbol of the 2010 Constitution, is off to a promising start. Despite some challenges experienced along the way, the national government, with support from various institutions, have been able to oversee a smooth and timely transition of functions and resources to county governments. This, however, is just the beginning. Our efforts must now be refocused towards sound policies and strategies for building an enterprising economy, maximizing on ICT, industrializing our production, food security, and ultimately open, inclusive, democratic institutions. One such effort is the Mariva Center, which is already we have been able to launch, to be an ICT-backed knowledge hub through which county governments can learn promotion of best practices in innovation, education, agriculture, and good governance. Ladies and gentlemen, sustained economic growth is almost always accompanied by technological improvements that enable people, land, and existing capital to become productive. Closely linked to technology are the education skills and competencies necessary to explore different opportunities presented by advanced technology. The national government has invested heavily in technical education through funding of vocational training institutions. It is my prayer that as we launch